M-I, quicker letter I, quicker letter I, humpback pride, Mississippi pride, I, O-M-I, quicker letter I, quicker letter I, humpback pride, Mississippi pride. Hey, y'all ready to go down to the valley? Let's go, y'all. Quicker letter I, humpback I, Mississippi pride. Hi everybody, it's Lauren Gill from Power Publicity, and we are back for our next installment of our Marketing Master Series, where we look for marketing and business lessons in some of the most unsuspecting places in my favorite TV shows. And today, if you could not tell from the intro, honey, we are going down to the valley. We are going over P-Valley. This is such a phenomenal show. It's become one of my favorite new shows on television. Shout out to Katori Hall, all the writers, producers, actors, actresses, everybody involved with the show. You guys did that for season 2. There, in my opinion, there was not one bad episode of this season. They covered a lot. There were some episodes where I was like, you really gonna have me in my feelings and bawling out of my eyes as far as tears and stuff like that. You guys did a phenomenal job. But today we are going to go over some marketing and business lessons you can learn from the girls down from at the Pynk, because it's a lot there, okay? So let's get into it. All right, y'all. So the first lesson I want to get into from the girls down at the Pynk is to make sure your brand is together. Make sure your brand is together. If you can recall from season 1, episode 6, this is right after Keyshawn's grand debut. She filled in for Mercedes after Mercedes got into that knockout fight from her mama, ended up in jail because her mama stole all her stuff, her little trifling. I'm going to get into how much I hate Patrice Wilbon at some point, okay? And she had to fill in for Mercedes. Her performance ended up going viral. She was starting to get more attention. Like, she became basically the top dancer at the club. And, you know, like, with that, Lil Murda song went viral too, because that song was playing at the time when she had her big performance. And they was meeting up with each other for like lunch or something. And she, you know, Keyshawn asked him, he was like, so how serious are you about this little music thing? And, you know, he pretty much said, well, yeah, I really want to get on. I want to be a star or whatever. And then she got on him because she said, bro, you ain't got no brand. You ain't got no base. You ain't got nothing. And she was right. And that's a very important thing, particularly in his case, where you want to be a successful artist. You have to have an established brand. You have to have a fan base, or nobody's going to listen to you. And that's the same thing for any content creator or any business owner. Before you start really heavily marketing your stuff, you have to know what your brand is, what you stand for. And I'll get into this with the next lesson. Who you're communicating with. And when I say what your brand is and what you stand for, you got to think about, how do you want to be perceived? What are some of your values? How do you want people to feel when they're interacting with you? I know a lot of the times when people think branding, they think about the visual aspects. They think about the logos. They think about colors. They may even think about photography. But before all that becomes the strategy of like how you're really going to position yourself in the marketplace. And whether you are a content creator, business owner, these rules apply. That has to be known. You have to know that in order for you to be successful. So make sure your brand is together. Because I mean, even look at what happened with Keyshawn and Lil Murda. Eventually they was able to link up, and they went on a Dirty Dozen tour. Like, if you recall, and you know, season 2, episode 3, when they was on a Dirty Dozen tour, they was doing little photo shoots and stuff like that. Because at that point, you know, he knew who he was. He was starting to know who he was, what he was established for. So make sure you have that stuff together. The next thing I want to talk about is pick the right target audience. If you can recall from the very first episode of the show, season 1, episode 1, Mercedes was showing Autumn how to work the floor. She had just got the job at the club, and she was just, you know, showing her how to like work the floor, pick her customers. And she was like, he's broke, he got a fake watch, he don't tip, he ain't got no money, like this, that, and the third, because otherwise you be wasting your time putting all your goods out to somebody who doesn't care. And that's the last thing you want to do as a content creator or a business owner. You want to make sure that you are targeting the right people. So know who your people are and how you want to connect with them. My next tip is to create an experience. Now, all throughout season 2, we've heard about the Mercedes experience. Like, even before, like, season 2, like Mercedes, like people, the reason why people drove far and wide over the region, over the state, because they knew when Mercedes got on that pole, she was gonna do that pole work. She's gonna pop it, drop it, like it, down, nope, all that stuff. They knew that they was in for a good show. The day that she was gonna give them that work, and even when she was kind of forced to transition to doing private work with Coach. She took Coach up on his sponsorship deal. She still gave them experience. It wasn't just like she was just sleeping with him. You know, she gave him the full experience at the club and like played into the fantasies. And then the wife, she liked what she saw and she got in on a deal. And then eventually that even translated into the wife. She created her own little photography exhibit. We saw that in episode 9 of season 2 of the show. And then eventually Mercedes, she was like, well, I'm going to open up my my gym, and you know, maybe they made a say this experience. I'm gonna have pole dancing classes. And says we see like Mercedes' experience, it evolved a lot, but no matter what, you knew whether you were watching her in the club dancing or you were gonna come see her pole dance, you knew what you was gonna get. You knew she was gonna give you something that you could feel. You knew that you were gonna have something that's gonna make you feel good, that it was gonna resonate with you. And that's the same thing you want to do when it comes to either your content or your business. Like I'll bring up Beyonce. A lot of reason why a lot of people like going to her shows, even if they're not a Hive member or the biggest fan. They know homegirl's gonna put on a good show, and they really value that. Same thing, that was the same case for Sadie's. They knew she was gonna put on a good show, and you want the same thing for your brand and your audience. You want people to know when they come see your stuff, they gonna get something good. When they buy from you, they gonna get something good. It's gonna fulfill some type of need. It's gonna make them feel good. It's gonna get to where they need to go. So create an experience that can really, really connect with people on an emotional level. My next tip is to tell your story. Now, as I told you in the beginning, I can't stand Patrice Woodbine. And Patrice Woodbine today, tomorrow, and forever. Now, she did a good deed in this last episode of season 2, but I still don't like her. Now, she's a very fascinating character for the show that I don't like. But one thing that Miss Woodbine, or I should say Pastor Woodbine, does is she tells her story well. Okay? Because in season 1, episode 5, when she got down to that jail cell, after she had that knockout fight with Sadie's in the parking lot, she was like really talking to those girls in the cell, and some of them were actually listening to her. Like they got emotional. Some of them was reevaluating their life. They were thinking about giving their life to Jesus, giving it to God or whatever. And it's because she told her stories and she knew how to really tap into that emotional core. And that is a very important part of branding and marketing, is being able to tap into that emotional core. And one of the ways you can do that is tell your story. Like that, stories help you to be relatable. They help you to identify yourself with people. So don't be afraid to do that, to tell your story. Make sure you're doing that on a consistent basis so you can continuously build that connection. My next thing is pick the right price point. Now, if you can recall when Sadie's was working with the real estate agent to actually buy the gym, the agent asked her, and this was in like season 1, episode 4, she said, well, what is your how do you plan to make money? Basically, what is your business model? And I believe Mercedes talked about having like a subscription-based model, and the real estate agent, she said, that sounds good, but maybe you should consider this, considering who the people you're targeting. And that's the same thing. You want to make sure whatever price point that you pick, not only it allows you to maximize your profits, but it also it's something that fits the audience, it fits your brand. Because if you are somebody, the thing that you're selling is luxury and upscale, but you are charging bargain prices, that doesn't mix. Nobody's going to take you seriously. It's not going to resonate. So make sure you pick the right price point, not just to maximize your profits, but to actually match your offerings and the people that you're targeting. The next lesson I have from the girls down at the Pynk is the art of the pivot. Baby, if it's one thing that these girls had to do consistently over and over and over and over in their personal life or even in the club, is learn how to pivot. The biggest example of this is the season opener for season 2, episode 1, when they had P-Word Land. Rona then came through to shut the club down. They shut the club down. Everybody got to stay at home. Everybody quarantined. But, strippers, they can't get PPP loans. They can't get there. Government don't respect sex workers. Nobody really respects sex workers. But that's neither here nor there. So the girls had to get it how they live. They still had to make their money. So instead of crying and growing broke, they came up with a new ways for people could still enjoy that experience, but they can also, stay afloat at that time. And that experience allowed the club to stay open through quarantine and all of that. It allowed them to stay afloat. It allowed them to pivot. And even as I was talking about earlier with Mercedes, like how she was kind of having to force to pivot based on circumstances because she was just dealing with so much weight emotionally, mentally, from the whole murder night situation with Montavious. She eventually had to pivot, and she said, you know what, I have to get out of this. And she pivoted. She stayed true to who she was, and she opened up the dance studio. And that is a good example of evolving. Like, because even if it's not something like a global pandemic that is forcing you to adapt to certain market conditions, over time you are going to have to evolve as you grow. You are going to have to not just expand, but evolve into something new or something that gives people a little bit of a different experience. You're still staying true to your core, but you're evolving into the next thing. And it's much better to do that willingly, meaning on your own. Like, you're saying, okay, we've done really well at this point, but now let's take it to the next level. Let's try this, let's try that. It's better to do that on your own versus being forced to do it, because things change. Like, as the world turns, as the world moves, things change. Technology changes, type of content people like changes, people's values, how they live their lives. Like, things change. You got to be able to evolve with it. My last and final lesson, and this is from that nasty Pastor Woodbine, is the value of authenticity and owning your story. Now, if you can recall, in season 2, episode 8, when Wayne put out those attack ads on both Andre and Patrice owned her stuff. She said, yeah, I used to be a whore. I used to turn tricks. I used to hustle. But I did that. I hoed so you didn't have to, Chuckalisa. And she ended up winning. She ended up winning the mayoral campaign. Because as I said, Patrice, now listen, I told you, I don't like her. She's a lot of things. But she owns her stuff when it comes to that. And people can respect that, because what they don't respect is BS. They don't respect, anything that's inauthentic. They don't respect somebody trying to really get one over. People can really see whether you really, even if you're selling a persona, it still has to be believable. They can know if this is something which is this is full of cap. So you got to be able to own your stuff. And on top of that, if you do find yourself in a crisis and that type of thing, when you own it, can't nobody shame you for it. Can't nobody spray you with it. Can't nobody pull you down with it. Because if you say, yeah, I did it, then what more else they can do to you? Because the opposite effect can also happen to you. Because look what happened to Andre. He has sold this story about, I'm a Chuckalisa born and bred, and my mama was on crack, and my dad died when I was young, and I'm a son, and I want to make sure there's economic opportunity for everybody in the town of Chuckalisa. And look what happened to him. That motherfucker ended up losing. Well, I think because he's a loser, but also because people knew that he wasn't really about that. And Wayne, he exposed him. If you can recall, after that attack ad, when Autumn and Keyshawn was in a diner and that attack ad came on TV, you heard everybody in the doctor I know when somebody is no good. I know it. They use the word, I know a nigga when I see one. They saw, they was I knew he was up no good. And that kind of pretty much, that could have been a nail in the coffin. And we even saw that playing out personally, because when Brittany confronted him about him cheating with Autumn after she cheated with Dante before, when he was cheating with Autumn, You know, they was just doing his whole cheating mix up, and she finally figured out who he was cheating with. He was saying, well, would you have married me if you had known my daddy was in jail for murder? Do you love the man who I am? Do you love the man I presented? Or do you love the man who I am? And honestly, I'm like, bro, that was a lot of projection, if we're being clear, because what was going on was he was having an identity crisis because he couldn't own his stuff, right? Towards the end of the episode, we saw him trying to do that because he went to actually go visit his father in prison. But we saw where not owning his stuff led him. He ended up losing. He didn't become the mayor. Patrice did. And now he's in this whole mixed-up situation with his wife and this Autumn Night Robin Rihanna 50 Haley Cohen Lakeisha Savage girl. We don't know what's going to happen with that one. But you know, it didn't work out for him. So always own your stuff. Own your stuff. If you, like I said, if you own it, can't nobody shame you for it. They can't, you know, they can't bring you down. And people can respect that when you own to it, and you know they're willing to give you grace if you are willing to ask for it and do the work to earn it. So that is all my lessons I have from the girls down at the Pynk and all the characters from P-Valley. I thank you so much for watching this video. If you need help with any of your marketing and PR, you can hit us up at powerpublicityllc.com. That is powerpublicityllc.com, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye!